measureQuick. Wanted to take a few minutes today and go over some of the stuff with the Testo probes. A lot of customers didn't realize that we actually integrated Testo in fully so that it could actually work with measureQuick directly. Testo's actually done a really cool thing here. In the last couple of weeks, they started shipping the refrigeration kit with a much nicer case. You can see we got above and below, so I can put all my manometers, my psychrometers, my outdoor air temperature measurement up in the upper half, and then I've got my refrigeration stuff in the bottom half. It's a really nice case, and there's removable foam inserts if you've got other probes you want to add into this. I think this one, for example, is for their hot wire anemometer in there. So it's just really a nice little setup. You can get your probes neatly organized and get stuff good to go and stack multiple sets of batteries in there, although the batteries in these things seem to last forever. Let me show you how all this works. One of the things I do, and I just want to point this out, Testo does send some blue and red dots there, but I like to mark my probes. So this one I've got marked suction line temperature. This one over on the other side I've got marked liquid line temperature. And what I do is just mark these so I know where I'm going to put them on the system. And when I map them, I know what I got each one mapped to. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll open up measureQuick here so you can see how this works. And when you open up measureQuick, the first thing you want to do is go into the toolbox. And actually before that, what I'm going to do is power up all these probes that I'm going to connect in here. So I've got a line temperature probe. And there's a couple different ways we can do this, but I'm just going to go ahead and power them all on. Manometer, 605, and outdoor air. And typically with these, you can hook up about 6 to 8 probes. So you can see I've got 4 here, 5, 6, 7, 8. What I might do is kill this manometer here just to make things unique, and I'll show you how we'll add that one in just a second here. So you can see now I got all the probes lit up. The yellow lights are flashing. That's an indicator that that they're not paired to anything yet. We'll go into the toolbox, and then there's 2 categories here. You're going to see that you have Bluetooth tools, and you're going to see data sharing tools. Bluetooth tools are tools that connect directly to measureQuick and stream data in live. Data sharing tools are ones, if we click on that, we can do app-to-app communication. So this means that we go from the Testo app to the measureQuick app. So if you like using your Testo application and you want to just send that over to measureQuick for further analysis, you can do that. Some probes, like the Testo Smart probes, connect directly in. The Testo 420, the 770, the 557, those we do not have fully integrated into measureQuick, as well as the combustion analyzers. So the Smart probes are a little bit unique. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll just minimize this to get out of the way. Down at the bottom, you're going to see Add New Tools. Click on Add New Tools, and it's going to go and scan for everything that it sees that's Testo out there. So you can see it scans pretty quickly. It's going to pick them up in no specific order here. So, but what you do want to do is click on the ones that you want the order to be in for your Testo Smart probe. So here you can see I've got the last digits. If you look on the back of the pressure or anything else here, you can see this has got a 323, and this one next to it is a 332, right? So 323 is my high pressure, and 332 is my low pressure probe. So I'm going to go ahead and put 332 in first. So 332 is here, then 323. So now I've got those 2 added in, and then I'll grab my suction line temperature, which is 719. So we'll look down here, find the 719, I'll add in that. This next one here is my liquid line temperature, LLT 794. So we'll go ahead and add in that. And then now I've got my 605Is and a 905I. My 905I is my outdoor air temperature. So I have that marked 950 here, 950, that's the 905I. That's outdoor air. So I'm going to set that aside for just a minute. I just like putting them in a specific order, so that's the way I'm going to put them in here. 299 is my return air probe. So I'm going to select return air, and then it leaves the 398, which is supply air, and then 905I. So now when I activate these and go to the probe manager, now you'll start to see them come in. They take just a second to come in, but once they come in, they start reading really fast, because every one of these is actually physically connecting to the application. These are a little bit different than some of the other probes we have out there. So now you can see they all came in and they're all reading, and you'll notice the refresh rates on these, like this is the outdoor air probe. If you watch this at the bottom, if I blow on that, you'll see that come up very, very quickly and cool down very, very quickly. It goes up and down really fast. So the read's fast, it's just the connect is a little slower than the read is, because they have to, like I said, physically connect. Once those are up here, now you can see I've got 323 is they automatically went in and mapped themselves. So condenser pressure, evaporator pressure, return air humidity, supply air humidity, line temp, and outdoor air temp. So not all of them are mapped. Now, I said 323, I want to make my suction pressure. So when I tap on that, I can tell it I map it to the evaporator. So that's my evaporator pressure. You notice that this one became unmapped as soon as I mapped that because they were mapped to the same point. So now I got evaporator pressure, now I got condenser pressure, now I've got my line temps, so I'm going to go down here. I have 719, so if I again look at my 719 probe, that's my suction line temperature. So 719, I'm going to map to the suction line. I've got now my other line temp here, which is going to go to my liquid line. And then my outdoor air temperature is already mapped, so we can map it to outdoor air again or just leave it there. And then as far as my humidity probes, again, I got supply air 398 is my supply, so that one's already done. And 299 is my return, so that's already done. So you can see you can just remap them, remove them, disconnect them, whatever you want to do, but otherwise they're auto mapped in there. We also have a zeroing here, so I can zero that out. And if I tap on it, it's just going to tell me it's successfully zeroed, and then hit dismiss. That'll hold in there. Now, once these probes are mapped in, every time you open up measureQuick, they're always going to be mapped in the same way. So you don't have to go through and change any of these or modify any of these. They're always going to come in exactly the same way. In fact, I'll show you here. If I shut down the application, I'll just swipe this up so the app's completely shut down now. You'll see if we look at all these probes, they immediately went to yellow because now none of them are connected in there. And if I open up measureQuick again, go into the probe manager and just activate the probes, and go into the probe manager, you can see as they come in, they'll automatically come in, evaporator pressure, condenser pressure, return air humidity, supply air humidity, suction line, liquid line, outdoor air. All automatically, always will stay the same. And now what will happen is all these will work with measureQuick directly. So you can see our suction line temperature there, superheat. If we tap this again here, here's my outdoor air. As soon as I blow in that outdoor air sensor, that's going to rise up and drop back down again. So you can see how quickly the probes respond to changes in there, and obviously our targets are recalculating. This is how you get everything paired in and set up with the Testo probes to stream into measureQuick. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to put the probes out and get them onto the system here. I'm going to show you a couple things we did unique with the Testo probes to make them work better for the application. All right, so now that we've got everything configured, I'm going to go ahead and hook up the probes to the system. So we'll go over here and again, we got all these things marked, which is really, really handy on here. So this one's the high pressure one. What I've done here, I'm going to pull this off for just a second just so I can show you. This is two different parts from two different manufacturers. This is actually the Schrader core depressor from AccuTools. This is actually a little service valve. So when I turn this back seat here, it blocks off flow to this port. When I drive it in, there's a little depressor here which opens up the Schrader valve, and then I can read pressure on this port. So this just is really handy for taking off and measuring pressure on the system. I use this a lot. And then this is just a little evacuation tee that Appian makes, and I use this one so I can simply put the pressure port on here, measure pressure. Then on this side I can use it to actually add refrigerant to the system. Now the tricky thing is with this is there is no Schrader core in here. So if you're going to use this for charging, you got to make sure you backseat the valve before you open this cap, or you're going to take a bath in refrigerant there, which may not be fun. I'm sure you can find these too that have Schrader cores in them if you want to use them that way, but once you understand what this does, it's not really hard to use here. So I'm going to go ahead and install this back on the system here, and then I'll go ahead and connect my high side gauge to the system. So this is just nice because I can rotate it up and get my hose in there real easily. So now I got the probe connected. We'll snug this up, snug it on there, make sure this cap is tight, which it was a little loose there. Now I can open up that valve, and that's got pressure on it, so I can start measuring pressure. This is my low side on here. Again, I marked low pressure here. I'm going to connect it up to the true suction on this, and we'll get that screwed on there and snug. So that's good to go. And then I've got here my liquid line temperature. Connect that to the liquid line. Just make sure your barrel's got nice contact with the line. And then suction line temperature over here into the suction line temperature, and we're good to go. All right, so now on these probes here, I've got a couple different ones. One thing I want to show you here is they do make, these are magnetic battery doors on here. If I pop this off completely, I'm going to pull the batteries out of it. Well, this is a magnetic back. You see it's got a little raised mark on here versus this one. I actually stole this off the back of my manometer on here. Testo, if you're listening, you should put these on all your probes because it makes them a heck of a lot handier. Because in this case here, I want to measure outdoor air, and I want to just be able to stick this on the condenser so I can get the outdoor air temperature. So now I don't have to have something to hold that on there. With a manometer here, if I want to connect it, all I got to do is just connect it to the port, and I can leave that free hang there. That's not going to be an issue, so it's out of the way on this. Now I've got my return air temperature probe and supply air temperature probe. A lot of times what I'll do here is just feed a little bit of the cord in if I got a hole there, and then just start sliding this in all together and just tuck that in just so I can hold in there nice and tight. You do want to make sure that your probe is fully open there, which this one is. So tuck that in there, that's open. What we're looking at is just this little door, protective door on here that covers up the probe tip when you're not using it, so that's wide open on here. Over on the filter grill, again, you know, these don't have a magnetic back on them, so you can't really stick them to the front, but what you can do is just tuck it inside the filter rack here, so it's held up by the filter. Really not a big deal on there, but it's held in, and now everything's hooked up and connected. So now we'll go back. All right, so now we're going to go over here to the probe manager, and we'll get things rolling here. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the piece of equipment. So we'll turn this over to cool here. This will take just a second to come on. And what we're going to look at in the probe manager, I always like to just check and make sure that everything is mapped correctly on here. So you can see that we're started up. You see my condenser pressure, 220, 223, it's climbing. My low side pressure is going down. Looking at my return air is at 61 degrees. My supply air, supply air is at 47, so we know that's good. Then I'm looking at my suction line temp of 44, liquid line temp of 70, and then outdoor air temp or shop temperature 63 degrees again. So all these numbers look reasonable on there. And just make sure that things are mapped to the right position on there. So now let's go to the home button here. I'll show you a couple interesting things in the application here. You know, typically when we're looking, one of the challenges is with these probes is, you guys know if you get more than a few feet away from them, you start to lose connection. So what we did, if you look at the indoor section here, I'm just going to tap on indoor measurements. There's actually a clear and capture button on here. So what I can do now is if I have a set of readings on here that I want to lock in, like if I'm in the house and I want to let the system stabilize for a minute, I can go ahead and hit capture, and it's going to lock in those readings on the indoor. Now when I go back to here and go to my indoor measurements, you can see nothing's moving on here. This allows me to lock in my initial set of readings, and if I lose connection with those probes, then the application doesn't not have the data it needs to calculate where it's at. So now I can go outside, make all of my outside measurements, look at my superheat, my suction line, my subcooling, all those kind of things, look at my targets here, and everything sort of makes sense. I go back inside, go to my indoor measurements, I can hit clear, pick up a new set of readings, and capture again. And as long as you're not going much more than about 10 minutes or so going inside to outside, that'll work totally fine. You can get those measurements, lock them in, and then you know, actually have what you need without having to worry about losing the measurements. You can capture the indoor measurements or capture the outdoor measurements. Now one more thing, let me show you here on these. When you're looking at all these measurements, you can actually tell when you go into that screen what probe it's coming off of. So this is obviously off a Testo probe on there, again clear. So now it's making live measurements, then capture. And if we go into the outside measurements here, you can see that this is my low pressure, my high pressure, liquid line temperature, suction line temperature. If I don't have a probe making a measurement here, this becomes a manual input on there. So I can delete that off, it'll go to nothing, or if I want to measure that discharge line temperature with another thermometer, let's say, then I can put that reading in there. So it allows you the flexibility of a manual input or having the reading. I can capture my indoor or outdoor readings. When I hit submit, then it goes back and we're good to go on that. So very, very simple to use. The Testo probes allows you to stream that data in. You don't have to worry about those app-to-app communications, and it really makes the Testo probes a lot more usable, a lot friendlier when you can capture those readings and just work inside or outside, not have to worry about losing that data. As long as you're not going much over about 10 minutes inside, you really shouldn't have any issues at all with that, because simply return air and supply air temperatures just don't change that quickly that it becomes that critical that you have that reading instantaneously. But you know, much over that, you want to make sure that you're going back in and getting another set of readings. Now, one more note on these: after about 15 minutes, the probes will shut off if they're not connected to the app. As long as they're connected to the app, they'll run continuously. But as soon as you shut them off, or you lose connection, then you got to power them back up again. So if you don't go in within about 10 minutes or so, you may have to repower your probes before you can connect them again. But as soon as you turn them on, they'll connect right away to the app. You don't have to go in the probe manager or anything. They'll just connect. You can get your readings and you can move on. So that's little overview on the Testo probes and direct connect. It's a really, really great product. I think Testo, what they do better than anybody is really provide a highly accurate measurement. Really like these probes, and I've been using them quite a bit for several years now. But anyway, just wanted to go over this and get you guys up to speed. This is Jim Bergman with measureQuick. Thanks a lot for watching.